This is Sybil Pandemic coming to you from New York Comic Con 2015. I'm here in Artist Alley with artist on one of my personal favorite comics, Joe Quinones. Joe, how are you enjoying Comic Con so far? You keeping busy?
Yes.
Great. One-word answers. That's all you really need. Asked and answered. Moving on. Now, you're working on Howard the Duck, which is probably my favorite Marvel character, if not in general. What's it like working on a character that's maybe has a bit of a cult following, but might not be resonate that much with a lot of people?
Well, I don't really think about it in those terms. It's just kind of like if the story is interesting, if it's fun to draw, and it is. I really like drawing Howard. My hesitation with him when I was signing on to draw the book is that it was such a departure from everything I've ever done. It was just like drawing people. And this is this anthropomorphized duck. And typically or traditionally with the Gerber stuff, it was sort of, it was like very cartooned and, sort of a riff on like Donald Duck. And so that was a big hesitation for me is like, how can I balance that change in style? And I knew that Chip and Will, the editor on the book, wanted to really couch Howard in the Marvel universe, and so it's like trying to figure out a way to balance him where it wasn't completely ridiculous to have him. I mean, obviously it's ridiculous to have a talking duck standing next to Iron Man or whatever, but it's all ridiculous really. And so that's sort of the point of the new Howard series is kind of to shine a light on the absurdity of the Marvel universe and what's going on in superhero comics. And I came around to it. It's really fun, actually. It's kind of lets me stretch my legs in terms of cartooning in ways that just drawing a Spider-Verse man wouldn't do. So.
All right. Yeah. And speaking of sort of stretching your legs, is there any picture or image that you or scene in Howard the Duck or anything else recently that you found particularly fun or interesting to draw?
It was very funny. A lot of people have taken to this, I think. There's a scene in issue 3 of the first run where Howard is undercover, sort of. He's pretending he's a regular duck, which just means he's stripped down so he's naked, and he's hanging out in Central Park, on all fours, saying quack, and just saying quack. He's not quacking.
Yeah, that's definitely one of my favorite parts as well. That's
pieces of bread, because he's starving. He's not doing well, and yeah.
Is there any comic books that you particularly enjoyed growing up, or?
Yeah, a lot of the standards. I read Batman growing up. The Jim Lee X-Men was huge for me. When that restarted in the '90s, and really huge for me was the whole Death of Superman run. That was the apex of me being into comics as a kid. Was reading through that arc and the Return of Superman with the Cyborg one and the Superboy and all that. I was so into it.
It got a little weird.
It was weird, but I loved it.
Overall, it was very positive in the end.
Yeah, sure.
It evened out.
It did.
And are there any artists in particular you feel influenced your style or who you admired?
There's a ton. I mean, there's the ones that I loved as a kid, and they influenced me in their own way. But so your Jim Lees and your Todd McFarlane's, I was way into then. Neil Adams. But today it's more stylistically, I take a lot more cues from Mignola I really like, Bruce Timm I really like, Mike Allred I really like. But then also a ton of my contemporaries, I think. I'm always looking at their stuff and just nom, 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 just sucking it in. Paulo Rivera is amazing, Doc Shaner, Mitch Garrod, my friend Jordan. I'm just kind of always surrounding myself with art I like, and it's definitely, I think, whether directly or indirectly, informs my own work. So.
Absolutely, that's quite an answer. I've always said that if I was a comics writer and I really hated the artist I was working with, I would make him draw a character with a bunch of tattoos. And in Howard the Duck, you've got one such character. Is there any truth to that statement?
I mean, maybe Chip hates me. Chip, why? Why?
Why would you do this, Chip?
No, but there was the conceit of Tara in Howard where she's a shapeshifter, and so her tattoos just changed all the time. And I'm not sure if that made it easier or harder because I just had to design new tattoos every time, but I also didn't have to like slavishly make sure they matched every issue. So I don't know, it's a mixed bag. There's definitely, I get some sympathy from Chip because he's an artist himself. Obviously, he draws sex criminals, but it doesn't really prevent him from giving me hard things to draw. There was in, I forget which issue now, issue 2. There was like this huge convention scene, and he's describing it, and it's just like, it kept being like, sorry, Joe. And then like, there's so many banners, and there's just like, it stretches off to the horizon, and there's like Galactus is in the background, and there's several planets and a sun and like several stars, and there's this convention goer doing this, and then this like person selling souvenirs of like Admiral Akbar knockoff, and I'm like, it's like so much stuff to draw as like one panel, and like just profusely apologizing, but still like you have to do it still. So thanks, Chip.
All right. Thank you so much for your time. This has been Sybil Pandemic with Joe Quinones. Are there any projects you're working on that people should look out for?
The new run of Howard, all new Howard the Duck, starts in November, so be on the lookout for that.
By Howard the Duck. This is me telling you specifically, yes, you specifically, by Howard the Duck. Do it.